What if I told you that one of the greatest artists of all time was also one of the most tormented? This is the story of Pablo Picasso, a man who turned his pain into masterpieces but paid a heavy price for his genius. From the depths of his blue period to the chaos of his later years, Picasso's art was a mirror of his mind. What drove this creative genius? And what can his struggles teach us about the price of brilliance? Welcome to Mental Histories, where we uncover the struggles behind the legends. Today, we step into Picasso's fractured psyche, genius, humor, and all.
Born in 1881 in Malaga, Spain, Pablo Picasso was a prodigy. By 14, he was out painting his teachers. His father, an artist himself, handed him the brushes, literally, and said, "You're the master now." By his 20s, he was in Paris, soaking up the avant-garde. But his early career was marked by tragedy. In 1901, his close friend Carlos Casagemas committed suicide, plunging Picasso into a deep depression. This period, known as the Blue Period, dripped with melancholy, stark, cold portraits of poverty and loss. But this wasn't just art. It was a mirror. Picasso's mind was already restless, haunted by his sister's death from diphtheria at age 7. That grief lingered, coloring his canvas and his soul. The Blue Period saw him create somber, melancholic works like The Old Guitarist and La Vie. These paintings, dominated by shades of blue, reflected his grief and emotional pain.
By his mid-20s, Picasso's talent was a wildfire. But so was his turmoil. Friends described him as magnetic, then moody, distant, even cruel. In 1907, he unleashed Les Demoiselles d'Avignon, a jagged, raw painting that shocked the art world. It wasn't just a style shift, it was his mind splintering onto canvas. Some say he wrestled with depression, others point to his obsessive work habits, days without sleep, fueled by coffee and chaos.
Picasso's personal life was as chaotic as his art. He had a string of relationships, each marked by passion, obsession, and often, heartbreak. Women like Fernande Olivier, Dora Maar, and Françoise Gillet were not just his lovers but also his muses. Yet, Picasso's treatment of these women has been widely criticized. He was known for his emotional instability, his need for control, and his tendency to discard people when they no longer served his needs. Dora Maar, one of his most famous muses, once said, "After Picasso, only God." But for many of the women in his life, being Picasso's muse came at a great cost. As he once said, there are only two types of women, goddesses and doormats.
Enter Cubism, Picasso's revolution. With Georges Braque, he smashed perspective, slicing reality into jagged pieces. It was genius, but it mirrored his inner world. He once said, "I paint objects as I think them, not as I see them." That's not just art, it's a mind unbound, maybe unhinged. His personal life spiraled too. Women, lovers, muses, came and went, Olga, Marie-Therese, Dora Maar. Each affair was intense, possessive, stormy. Dora called him a destroyer. Psychologists today speculate, narcissism, bipolar swings. Whatever it was, Picasso thrived in the wreckage, turning pain into masterpieces like Guernica, a scream against war, and maybe himself. Picasso's art was not just shaped by his personal life but also by the world around him. During the Spanish Civil War, he created one of his most powerful works, Guernica. This monumental painting was a response to the bombing of a Basque town by Nazi Germany and Fascist Italy. Filled with distorted figures and chaotic imagery, Guernica reflects Picasso's anguish and anger. It's a stark reminder of how external events can impact an artist's mental state and creativity. For Picasso, Guernica was not just a political statement but also a reflection of his own inner turmoil.
In his later years, Picasso became increasingly reclusive and paranoid. Despite his fame and success, he struggled with loneliness and the weight of his own legacy. His work during this period, like The Weeping Woman, is chaotic and intense, reflecting his inner turmoil. As he aged, he once remarked, "It takes a long time to become young."
By his 50s, Picasso was a legend, wealthy, revered, untouchable. But his mind never settled. World War II rattled him. Friends died or fled. Guernica in 1937 was his howl of rage, grief and genius colliding. Into his 70s and 80s he kept painting, wild, colorful works defying age. Yet he grew isolated, paranoid, hoarding wealth and memories. He died in 1973 at 91, leaving thousands of pieces, and a legacy of a mind that never stopped wrestling itself. His last words? "Drink to me, drink to my health." A final toast from a man who lived on his own terms.
Picasso didn't just paint, he shattered and rebuilt the world through a mind in constant flux. His mental challenges weren't a flaw, they were his fire. Picasso's life reminds us that even the greatest geniuses are human. His art, while revolutionary, was also a reflection of his inner struggles, his grief, his passions, and his fears. Today, Picasso is celebrated as one of the most influential artists of the 20th century, but his story also serves as a cautionary tale about the cost of genius.
What do you think about Picasso's life and art? Do you see his struggles reflected in his work? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who loves art, history, or psychology. Until next time, keep exploring the fascinating stories behind the greatest minds in history.